gotten a lot, and I think you're picking up on, is how do you take these things that are maybe more ethereal or spiritual or emotional or not in the culture, and make them very practical, and whether that's through storytelling or analogies or processes or, just straight up, spitting game. I don't know. You got to just do what you got to do to break through.
No, yeah, that's, thanks for filling me in on that. And yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's got to be scary. And also when you look at, you mentioned children, you mentioned legacy, 80% of your happiness being how your wife looks at you when you walk in the door. So much of
when I use those metrics that you just said, I'm exactly where I need to be.
Correct. It becomes a no-brainer. It becomes a no-brainer because you go,
it's exactly a no-brainer. It has nothing to do with your brain. It has everything to do with your heart.
There you go. I love that.
And that's the king energy that's connected to the universal heart and the intelligence of the universal spirit, the divine. And then when you have a moment of connection to that place, everything makes sense. And I've had many of those moments in the last 2.5 years where it is just a look from my family. It is just a feeling where I'm like, yep. And don't get me wrong, it has its ups and downs and bumps and challenges and all the things that go with being a dad and a parent and a husband and a business owner and a homeowner and all the things, right? All the cultural things that we have to address in the real 3D world. So I don't just live in this sort of 5D spiritual realm, all this, right? It's like it has to translate to like, how does this show up in my real life? How do I utilize these tools on a daily basis? How do I have the community and the support that I'm not doing it alone? And the results are phenomenal. I can definitely say that. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you one more question before we kind of do our standard kind of 3 questions that all of our listeners at this point are probably familiar with. You strike me as somebody who bridges that gap between the spiritual and the practical, between kind of this collective service and taking care of your individual needs. You're very open-minded, right? And also not so open-minded that your brain's fallen out, Michael. So
thanks for the compliment.
I would love, because I think that people like you are so rare in being able to speak to these different perspectives and be able to almost kind of transcend the perspectives and see it from a bird's eye perspective on the two sort of, in the culture war. So anytime I have an opportunity to ask a question like this, because I know it'll be impactful for someone, I like to take advantage of it. So I'm curious, how do you do that? And what would you say to somebody who's kind of stuck in this, like, pointing fingers, sort of mentality or blaming, or like there's a lot of, combative energy, that's causing a lot of friction right now in the culture. I'm curious what you would say to that.
Yeah. There's a song and there's the lyrics go, live in New York, but leave before you get too jaded, and live in California, but leave before you get too soft. So I think I found the sacred third of that in Austin.
Nice.
The 3D part, growing up in New York was I always say it was the best place to grow up, because I had to learn certain things early on, just the attitude of people there, how you read people, how you trust people, how, all of the non sort of traditional things that you would learn in school, out of the street smarts, so to speak, and how to make things practical and break it down to, no bullshit, just like get to the point. Right. And then I went off on this journey, a spiritual journey, starting in California, and it led me all over the world. And I was able to, expand my consciousness, my awareness, my, lots of trial and error, lots of doing things. But, I am who I am at the core, right? That first 7 years of life, that was hardwired. So everything gets, all the new software, all the new information gets sort of transduced through that hardware program that I grew up with. So I think I've developed a unique ability to be able to take these big, lofty, big metaphysical concepts and break them down into a very quintessentialized, potent, powerful a piece of information for a man to make change. That's some of the feedback I've gotten a lot, and I think you're picking up on, is how do you take these things that are maybe more ethereal or spiritual or emotional or not in the culture and make them very practical, and whether that's through storytelling or analogies or processes or just straight up spitting game. I don't know. You got to just do what you got to do to break through. And I definitely have developed that skill set. I mean, I've been doing this work for a long time, and taking things even just from the chiropractic world, talking about neurophysiology and pathology and X-rays, and taking all these very like complex topics, and how I've had to learn how to relate them to the everyday patient. Right? They don't care to really know how everything works. They just want to trust me that I've taken the time to understand how they work, how it works, and can I relate it to them in a relatable way. So I've been doing that for over 20 years, and now I'm just doing it in a different context with men's work. And the beautiful thing, and the thing I've loved about moving kind of beyond chiropractic office and network office to working with people in this way, is that we've always wanted to talk about the personal growth part. We would weave it in our office, but even in just like a scope of practice, like that's just not something you can do a lot as a chiropractor. You're focused on the physical, right? And depending on your state laws. So there was always this like sort of blurred line that you were towing a lot, especially in the type of chiropractic work I was doing. But now it's like I'm in a totally different place where I could say all the things that I've been wanting to say for the last 20 years and it's being asked for, and I'm able to transduce that down. So yeah, that's kind of how I do it.
Good. Great answer. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. So we always ask our guests 3 different questions, Michael, before we head for the exits. The first is, what do you think the world needs most right now?
Ignite the King. Sorry, shameless plug. Everyone needs to do their own work. If everyone, here's the big paradox. Everyone always says, well, I'm just one person. What can I do? You're just one person. What can you do? And the one thing I know every person can do is to be a better person. And truly, if, again, not to sound too kumbaya, but if everyone just takes responsibility for themselves, man, that would change everything. So find yourself a coach, find yourself your tribe, find yourself your group, find yourself the thing that works for you, and don't stop looking until you find it. I've been on this journey for 20 years and I'll never stop.
It's beautiful. You're just one person, but if you know 1,000 people and they know 1,000 people, all of a sudden you're just 2 steps removed from 1 million people, right? That you're impacting.
The starfish story on the beach, right?
Yeah,
that story?
Yeah.
I to this one starfish, that's everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Everyone does their part.
Absolutely. So question number 2, what 1 to 3 books would you recommend our audience look out for and check out from your perspective?
Yeah. King Warrior Magician Lover by Morin Gillette is basically the Bible for men's work. 2 authors from the 1980s that really established the archetypal energies in the culture. And based on mythology and Jung's work, I send it to every new man I work with. It's absolutely a game changer. So King Warrior Magician Lover. The 12 Stages of Healing by Donnie Epstein. He was my mentor through Network Care. He also developed a modality called somatorespiratory integration. It's sort of the accompaniment to Network Care. It's the self journey. It actually, the form goes directly over the hero's journey. So I use it as a tool with men I work with, and it takes you through the healing process that we all experience. And there's 12 stages of that, and there's associated breathing exercises that are truly transformational. So I would say the 12 Stages of Healing would be number 2. And if you can get through it, The Man with 1,000 Faces, Joseph Campbell, The Hero's Journey. So that's was just a landmark book that changed the way that we see our journey of life. And so much of what we see in the culture now was based on that journey.